Hello. Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly, Episode 8. Hard to believe that it's been 2 months, thereabouts, since I've been doing these. And yet here we are. So, today, we've got 4 indie games I do want to do just kind of an overview about that I played in the past 2 weeks. Yes, 4. I played 4 short indie games. And I also want to have part 2 of this be my opening of my Streets of Rage 4 Collector's Edition from Limited Run Games. Which I'm going to talk about the game itself in this. So that's kind of cool. Get to actually talk about the actual cool collector's stuff and then actually talk about the game too. I think I'll go ahead and start with that. Streets of Rage 4 has quite a history behind it. As you might know, the original trilogy came out on the Genesis way back in the 90s. I want to say Streets of Rage 3 was 95. Seminal brawler series, probably in terms of the 3 entries that it had, one of the best overall examples of the genre that you can play. And then Sega did nothing with the series for years and years and years. Hey, it's a Festivus. He's going to check out what's going on while I tell you about Streets of Rage 4 itself. So, Lizard Cube, Guard Crush, and .emu combined and pitched a successful idea to Sega that they wanted to bring Streets of Rage back. This was after the very successful Wonder Boy / Girl and Monster World remake that they did. Lizard Cube and .emu anyway. That is gorgeous and lovely, and I need to get back into that game sometime this year, probably. They brought Guard Crush in because of their expertise in the genre. I forget what they made. Like Streets of Fury or something like that. And combined all together, all of these companies coming together, plus they brought back Yuzo Koshiro, Olivier de Riviere. There we go. That's better sounding. Yuzo Koshiro, Motohiro Kawashima, Yoko Shimomura, Keiji Yamagishi, Hirumi Fujita, Das Mortal, and Groundislava. So pretty star-studded group of there. For those who don't know, Koshiro did the original Streets of Rage series along with Kamashima. Koshiro is also really well known for ActRaiser, earlier Ys games, Etrian Odyssey. He was a co-composer on Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. He's featured on Super Smash Brothers. There's a lot more. That's just a real nice sum up. Yoko Shimomura, of course, is the Kingdom Hearts composer, as well as composing Super Mario RPG. She helped with several early Capcom games like Street Fighter II and Final Fight and the original Breath of Fire. Also has done Legend of Mana, Final Fantasy XV, and a couple other Final Fantasy games. Also a Super Smash Brothers composer. Radiant Historia, however, is probably my favorite soundtrack of hers. You should check that one out if you haven't listened to it. Keiji Yamagishi is best known for the NES Ninja Gaiden games. And then there's Hirumi Fujita, and she did a lot of early Capcom soundtracks before going freelance. So some of the ones she worked on was the arcade Bionic Commando. She was a co-composer on the original Ghosts and Goblins. She did the NES Strider. She did the character select for Final Fight. She also did the NES Willow, which is probably her best soundtrack on the NES, although I have a very close relationship with Strider. She also did Needleman, Gemini Man, and part of the staff role for Mega Man 3 before Bun Bun took it over. When she left, she did work on Skyblazer, Tomba, Polestar and Blazing Star, and then she kind of sat out for a bit, but she's been coming back. Along with Streets of Rage 4, she also did Spider Swords, which I think is a way forward game. Yeah. So a good mix of composers. I don't know the non-Japanese composers as well, so I'm not going to go into their history quite as much. But since Olivier was like the primary composer, they've done Alone in the Dark. He's done Alone in the Dark, Obscure, Remember Me. Did some work on the Assassin's Creed series. Dying Light 2 is coming up. The Vampire, the Don't Nod, and Life is Strange. Well, sorry, Life is Strange is Special Things. Plague Tale Innocence. So another excellent composer. It's definitely one of the leaders in the French scene, I would say. Streets of Rage 4, as a game, does it live up to the old ones? Yes. Yes, it does. Visually, it is stunning. The animation work is incredible. The backgrounds are incredible. The gameplay is fluid. It feels good to play. I played as Cherry, and she is a lot of fun to play. She can do some really interesting stuff, like jumping around off of bad guys from 1-to-1, and uses her guitar for stuff. It's just really cool. She's so much fun. Since I spent so much time on the music, I like the soundtrack. I don't know if it's as like top tier as the first two Streets of Rage games are, because I think those two in particular have really strong soundtracks. But this is really good too. The team that they pulled together for this, it did a solid job of finding its own sound that feels like it's Streets of Rage, but in a modern context, and that's really impressive. There's a lot to this game in terms of unlockable stuff that I need to still do. I only played through it as Cherry on easy, and there's 12 stages with five playable characters in the new animation style, and then you also then begin to unlock all of the retro characters from the first three Streets of Rage games, which is cool that they actually went through the effort to incorporate all of them. I did unlock Streets of Rage 1 Axel, but I haven't messed around with it yet. So there's a lot of replay here if you like beat 'em ups, and it's definitely solid. The biggest issue I have with Streets of Rage 4 is kind of a common issue, and it's something that I had an issue with the original games, is that it has a male-gazy aspect to it with the female character design, especially with Blaze, because Blaze has had that problem through all 4 games, and it continues here. And some of the enemies have like upskirts or like exposed cleavage, or like their shirts go all the way down. And it just gets a little old when the majority of the female enemies in your game are designed that way. And then one of the playable characters is designed that way. I'm really over it. That's really the biggest complaint that I have, though. Otherwise, really, really good beat 'em up, and it might get on my top 111 next time I update it. I'm not 100% sure. So the other 3 I played was Wide Ocean, Big Jacket, Donut County, and A Short Hike. Wide Ocean, Big Jacket is a pretty short visual novel style game. But you do have a lot of character movement, but it's a quaint story about a couple that takes one of the wife's niece and the niece's boyfriend on a camping trip to the beach, and it's like a slice of life thing. It's kind of like you just watch like a movie almost, because it's just kind of how it feels. It's extremely well written. The characters have a lot of personality. I really liked I liked all of the characters, honestly, because they're all interesting. I forget the young girl's name. That was the first game I played this month, and let me just say, this month has been wild in terms of what's been going on. So the fact that I don't remember it, I think, is understandable. I don't really want to get into that today, but what a bananas month it's been. Mord, thank you. Thank you, Polygon, for writing a good review on the game. Mord I really liked, and it does a really good job of having adult characters and teenage characters, and you can relate to both sets in different ways, because the adults talk a different way than the teenagers do. And overall, I really like this game. It's not a top 111 game for me, but I think just walking into that game with no expectations beyond, I know that this is just kind of a laid back type of game, and it's kind of what I wanted after playing some pretty long games towards the end of 2020, like XCOM 2. That was really long, going through that 3 times. And Time Spinner was kind of a decent time sink. Coming into 2021 and just playing some of these shorter indie games was really nice. And this was the first one I did, and it was a really good, like, it set the tone for the next 3. And it's a great game. That may just be clear. The only thing that I would change maybe is have just a little bit more to it. Like maybe and I know that there's a little bit of, like, with a couple of the other, like, really minor characters, but I almost feel like it could have probably had 1 or 2 more nights in it to continue. But at the same time, the what's here is really solid, and the writing is spectacular, and it really gets you thinking. And that's perfect. I love games like this sometimes to just think, and it was really nice to experience. The second game that I played was Donut County, and I had seen a good chunk of that get played by Keita Nash and Cat for the Win over on Twitch. But I decided that after watching them play it and having such a good time with it, that I wanted to stop and to play it myself. So I gave myself some time, and I noticed it was on sale when I got some games right as the year ended. And so I decided to buy it and give it a shot, and it's fun. I really like it. There's something about indie game writing that really is clicking for me this year, because all 3 of these games, I love the writing in them. It's like apparently I am an indie hipster when it comes to video game writing anymore. It was another extremely well written game with really good characters, and the central gimmick of you control a hole and you drop stuff in, and then occasionally there's a little wrinkle of a puzzle that you have to figure out, and then you get to more story and more character development and more just splendid writing. The Trashopedia is incredible. Just what a clever way to do item discussion, to build up that lore by having raccoons talking about trash that they've swallowed up in the hole. It's a really cool game. I really enjoyed it a lot. I almost put that on my top 111. Almost did. But again, another splendid game that I really enjoyed. the biggest issue I had with it was probably the final area, because the game suddenly adds in like a time pressure that you have to do something within a time limit, and the rest of the game hasn't really been like that, so it kind of threw me off. It felt a little out of place. So it took me a bit to kind of get into that groove. So that's really the only issue I had with it. Otherwise, it's an excellent game. I like the visual style too. And having so much of it done with like texting and then the round table after the majority of the game has taken place. And you're like learning what the world happened. It's really well paced. It's a really good game. Really liked it. So recommend Donut County as well. My favorite game so far of 2021 though has been A Short Hike. A Short Hike is about a young bird named Claire who is visiting her aunt, who is a ranger at a this national park place. And you get to just basically go do whatever you want in this park. So it's interesting. This is an interesting game because it is completely non-violent. The most violent thing you do is you hit things with sticks, or you break into a couple places with a pickaxe. You don't fight anything. You don't get into arguments really with anyone. It's just such a chill exploration game. What's up, bud? You want to be on video again? Yeah? You want to talk about A Short Hike? Yeah. It had birds in it. There's Finn. Again. So when you're exploring the place, there's a Zelda. It's a Zelda-esque action adventure game without really the action part, which I really enjoyed. You have a stamina meter through feathers, so your ability to fly and run and perform a couple other actions, climbing, flying, swim, and running are all dependent on the amount of golden feathers that you find. So they're just kind of scattered all over the place. And there's a ton of NPCs walking around that have tasks for you. And a couple of them involve mini games. You can get into a boat and drive around, and then eventually you can talk to the boat master's son, who's bored out of his mind, and get into some races. But then in the process of doing a race, you accidentally break the boat engine. So you go and get it repaired, and then there's another race, and that's just kind of how the game works. There's a game where you play volleyball, but you hit beach balls basically over the net, back and forth with somebody. That took a little bit of learning the exact positioning that you needed to be in to do it, but it was fun. There's some go find this item for me type of things. You collect money and you have to buy some stuff. But the game just is all about wandering around in this delightfully colored, pixelated space, getting the ability to do more in that space, and just chilling out and enjoying. It's the closest I think a game has come in terms of just actually going out into nature and doing that, but in a game space. Granted, you are a bird, so you can't fly. But outside of that, it's such a great game. If I actually had played it in 2020, it would have ended up on my 2020 list in some capacity, because it ended up in my top 111. I absolutely adored A Short Hike, and the soundtrack is really freaking good too. It's so perfect for what's going on. The only real issues I had with that game is that there's no map, so it can be a little hard to kind of figure out sometimes. It definitely wants you to like learn the lay of the land, and the areas are pretty distinct, but there's like a couple points where the island just kind of seems to loop that the park kind of loops back in upon itself in a way that isn't immediately clear. So like I spent some time like just in this same area, and then I would fly up and think I was getting out of there. But then when I got up higher, I ended up getting turned around somehow and ended back down in the same spot. And I ended up doing that for like 5 minutes before I was like, okay, I really need to get out of this spot. So the lack of a map is not helpful. I do also wish that it had slightly better inventory management. So like if I could use the shoulder buttons to flip through the tools, so I didn't have to go into the menu to grab like the bucket if I wanted to like dunk water on one of the plants, for instance. But really, those are very minor complaints. It's just kind of nice to wander around in that game. I actually booted it up a few days ago, well after like getting the majority of everything done in it. Just enjoy being there, and those are sometimes the most charming of games, when you can go back in after you've beaten it and you've done almost everything in it, and you just want to be in that area. You want to be in that world. Want to be in that virtual space because it makes you comfortable and makes you happy. And A Short Hike did that for me, and that's really cool. So yeah, those are the 4 games I've played this month. They're all excellent. I recommend them all. I really do. There's not a stinker in the bunch so far, and that's good. That's always good to start off a year with great games. I think I'm going to start Suikoden 3 a little bit later this weekend. I think I'm also going to play the Monster Hunter Rise and Bravely Default 2 demos that I've had sitting on my Switch for a while. So I may talk about those 2 demos next week, but I'm thinking I might do something else. We'll have to see. Let's just have a little cat transition, because those are great. Talk about what came in that Streets of Rage 4 Collector's Edition. Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly Part 2, when I've got an enormous box. I actually will have a second package I hope to go over before this video goes up, but this is a big thing that I've been waiting for 7 or 8 months now, I want to say. So let's go ahead and get it open. Alright. Boy, this is the biggest box. I might actually have to stand up to get it out of this box. Alright, well, here's a hint at what this is. That's right, it's the Streets of Rage 4 Collector's Edition. And it does not want to come out of this box. Much like the game it's representing, it's putting up a fight. Alright, there we go. Okay. So, this is big. This is easily the biggest box I have. I don't even know if I could fit it up on top of my shelves. But yes, it does come with this special edition exclusive track selection that they threw in a little late. which is really nice. There's also, I think, a soundtrack in here, but I'm going to have to open it up to see what all the goodies are. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm very excited to play Streets of Rage 4. I have heard great things. The fact that it was on some Game of the Year lists is very exciting. I've always liked the series too. Here is the limited run card. I don't know if that's going to pick up on the focus very well. We're going to have thin face. Tell you what, it's not a pickups video without cat entertainment. So why is this box so big, I hear you asking? Well, there's a good reason for that, and hopefully I won't have to stand up again to get it out of here. But yeah, this is cool. And then this is what the side looks like. Both sides look like that. The back's not very exciting, so I'll spare you from that. But just a big old slip case. The box itself is not that different. Thankfully, it's got a thing on the top here that's pretty easy to open. Okay, so let's do this bit by bit by bit. So here is probably just like the regular deluxe edition of this game. I'm going to pull everything out of this box first before I open up this one, so we'll come back to that. This is the Genesis clamshell. Feels like there's stuff in there too. This is the original soundtrack. I'm not really sure how this differs from the exclusive track selection. It looks like it has some of the same tracks. And we've got something big under here that I'm gonna have to figure out how to pull out. So we've got this big poster of the key art. I happen to quite like the art in this game, although I really could have done with Blaze having like tights or something. But I've always had that issue with Blaze, so I guess it's nothing new. It's open. So here's the art book, which I'll need to open up and take a look at. Here's the chicken stress ball. And then this is why this thing was so big. It came with a statue of Blaze and Axel. So let me go ahead and bring that a little closer so we can see and not upskirt Blaze in the process. So I've always liked Streets of Rage, so it's nice to have some stuff I can put on my shelf for it. So let's get into everything else. Now that we've got that open, we're just going to leave that to the side so they can kind of hang out. So let me get the little stress ball out because that'll be the easiest thing. It's cute. It represents chicken. Such a common beat 'em up pickup. So let's see what's inside the clamshell and the box here. And then we'll take a brief look at the art book. It's wild to me that this is a thing, that this is a product that exists. The fact that it's been so long since Streets of Rage 3. Alright, so the big thing, one of the things that Limited Run likes to do is make replica carts. So I imagine that this will be the actual Switch case and all of the remaining items. Wow, 26 years later since Streets of Rage 3. That is wild to me. So again, another cardboard case. And they replicated the Genesis look, but this is far bigger than that. Alright, so inside we have Streets of Rage 4 Switch game, and then it also comes with a steelbook that has the key art. Well, I've seen that art a lot in this package, as well as that art of Axel. It's an odd coincidence. Today is my birthday, so it was nice that this showed up on my birthday. Alright, so inside the Switch case, we have the cart. It has a reversible artwork on the inside, and then it's got a manual that has character bios. We've got a Curious Flavia, and as with the Panther Dragoon I recently got, has some notes from Jeremy Parrish in there as well. Alright, so again, here's the art book. As soon as the cat stops being in the way. I think what I will do is I will grab this webcam and we'll bring it a little bit closer. So again, I'm not going to go through all of this. But there's the title page, and there's that key art again. There's an introduction. Okay, so here we go. So you'll get some character art and bios, and then if we dig in a bit, there's enemy art. But again, I'm not going to go through all of these. So almost through everything. We'll just take a quick look at the actual soundtrack. Okay, so there is just a little piece of art, nothing too exciting on the inside. But there's the first disc. There's the second disc. It's appropriate that Cherry's on there. Cherry's actually the character I'm most excited to play. So yeah, that is this very, very cool edition. Really excited to have it. Like I said, I've been waiting for this for a bit, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to actually sit down and play this. So yeah, awesome work, Limited Run. You did a great job, as you tend to do. So that's the end of this part. I'm back with more stuff. I got my Festivus present from my forum. Very excited to open this up, as Finn is as well. I just never know what the cats are going to do when I start filming this. So I'm going to pause this to actually get the box open, and we'll be right back. Okay, it's more or less open. As you can see, I've done some damage to it. So I've got a card with what says Inventory of Doom. I'm going to leave that alone because I want to keep the person who gave this to me anonymous for the video's purposes. But let's see what else is inside. Alright. I've got a Goomba plush. So that's exciting. It's got a hook on it, so I could hang it somewhere if I wanted to. I've got salted caramel apple butter. That's kind of exciting. I've got rosemary and roasted garlic crackers. Yeah, flatbread crackers. Those are probably delicious. I've got some toffee. I've got what look like donut holes. And then I've got some dark chocolate. And then I've got an interactive CD sampler pack, volume 3, from the PlayStation. That's very random. Inside the card there was also a piece of art of Samus, which is really cool. Alright, well that's just a wonderful thing. This forum has been doing Festivus for several years now. This is probably my 5th or 6th year since I've been doing it, and it's always fun because you never know what you're going to get. And this year was a lot of food, so I'm very delighted to have a whole bunch of new things to try out. So thank you to my Ninja Santa very much. Finn loves the box too. He is very pleased. That's going to be it for Levels Plus Weekly this week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.